Better now.
Okay,
Okay, Madam Chair, you are live on YouTube.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is the November 10th meeting of the Haverty Grace Historic Preservation Commission. How about if you take a roll call, Kathleen?
All righty. Shane is here. Jean.
Here.
Kathy King.
here.
I'm here. Roger's here.
Roger's here.
Ellen's.
I'm here.
Okay, Ellen.
I'm here.
Jim. Did I do Jim already?
I'm here, yep.
Okay, all right. Who else is there?
Carolyn.
Oh, Carolyn, of course, yes.
Mhm.
How about Kevin
Kevin.
Oh, Kevin. Okay.
and Shane?
And I got Shane first. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I imagine Carol will join us momentarily.
I'm sure
so-
she will.
Candace, did we get you too?
I don't know.
Okay.
Kathy, did you hear me?
Yeah, Candace. I
Okay.
gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the October 13th meeting?
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Kathy. Any second? Or any questions to keep them accurate? No questions? If not, I will put them in the space that the city provides for us for documenting our meetings. Okay, everyone who's in, can I call the question? Everyone, I'm losing my sense of Robert's rules, guys. Everyone in favor of approving the minutes.
Aye.
I
Any objection? Okay. All right. I just wanted to take a moment to welcome Candace. Thank you for being willing to donate your time and energy to the Historic Preservation Commission. I'm sorry
Welcome,
I missed
Candace.
the meeting. Yes, yes. Candace, would you
Thank
like to
you.
maybe say 3 sentences about your
Oh,
own
no.
enthusiasm for historic preservation or anything?
Oh,
Anything?
that's easy. Oh, good.
Okay.
Anyone, I feel bad because Carolyn Zinder's already heard this and so has Kathy, but no, I grew up in a house built in 1867. And when I was in my teens, my parents decided to rip off the aluminum siding and we found some beautiful wood siding and just
Wonderful.
the adventure with the architect and trying to figure out the colors. And we restored the outside of the house and the inside, and it was a lot of fun. And I really got interested in architecture and history then.
So you got the bug at an early age. Yes.
Yes.
Terrific. Well, we're delighted you're here. We need
Thank you.
the.
And your parents still live there, right, Candace?
Yes,
Yep.
50. Yeah, they moved in there. Yeah, 50 some years they've lived there. They moved in
Wow.
1967.
They're making
Where
their
is
own their own history in that house.
Yeah,
sorry.
lots. We,
Kathy, you had a
my 4 brothers and sisters and I made the history even more interesting. Up in Danville, PA.
Oh,
Oh, Danville. Okay, great. All right. Okay. Jim, do you have anything to share about finances?
Well, I just will tell you that very little happened last month, but I did get the city to, if you recall, they had been charging the city account for the medallions, and they reversed the charges and everything. So now everything is up to date. The only thing that happened this month was a $2 label sale. And so the balances that we have right now are $6,682 in the escrow account and $4,695 in the city account. The only thing that's come out of there is the $305 for the printer for the brochures that we printed up.
And just for everyone's benefit, those were brochures for the Lafayette Trail or what?
no, it was for these.
Oh,
It was for the medallion.
Yeah,
birthday.
And the medallions.
of course. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see another phone call in participant. Who is that? That's Jim.
Bob Green.
Oh, good.
Ah.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Hi,
Here.
I have a question for Jim.
Mhm.
Last month, Jim, our escrow account was over $8,000.
You're welcome.
What happened to, how did it get down to by 2,000? Was that had to do with the?
Well, if you recall, the city had charged the other account for the medallions, and so that was reversed, and the numbers. I mean, the numbers are accurate. I don't know exactly what they.
So we only
they-
have $6,600 in our escrow. It seemed
Correct.
like we should, because we didn't spend $2,000 on anything.
Yeah, we had
Well, but you re-
8,443 last
Medallions.
month.
Pardon? Yeah, did everybody else see that from our minutes?
Yes,
Eight-
yes.
8,443, and now it's
Right.
6,000. So I don't know where that other 2,000 went.
Kathy, it
Well-
went to the medallions because as Jim was saying, they had taken the money out of the
Okay.
city funds for the
Yeah, if you recall the
medallions.
if you recall the last meeting, we noticed that they had been doing the wrong thing with the medallion money, and
Yeah, I do remember that.
and doing the charges, and there was also a deposit and so on. So the numbers are accurate.
Okay.
I have the same question when I first got them, and George Doherty reminded me of those transactions. So, and then once I did the math, then everything looked fine. So
Okay, thank you, Jim.
from here on out, everything that happens should make sense with our money, and I'll start keeping a ledger now that I have everything where it does make sense, where all the corrections were made and all that. And don't worry, we won't lose track of the money.
No, I'm sure we won't with you in charge of it.
Thanks, Jim, for taking
Sure.
care of that. Yeah. Our first order of old business is to discuss, I know you all saw Bill Martin's response to our list of properties for local landmarks. I did reread his response just yesterday, I guess, and it's been only 10 days, so I don't think we get to bug him just yet. But he was very clear in his letter that he wishes to take prompt action on it, however that evolves. I'm assuming, Shane, that you haven't heard anything from the mayor about that in any capacity or way.
No, not at this time. I haven't had an opportunity to meet with anybody to discuss any further, but the email obviously was very positive. I believe it was very positive, and I got a good feeling from it. So we'll keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I think we all share that sense of hope, and so we'll keep on that. I know many people in the city were busy with the Lafayette marker dedication ceremony and some other concerns. So we'll stay with that. Do you have anything to add to that, Carol?
No, I don't have anything to add to that. I was just going to say about the marker. It was a lovely ceremony for all those who got to attend. I'm sure they enjoyed it. Couldn't have asked for nicer weather. And
It was really
yeah, I had an opportunity to talk to Julian a little bit, and unfortunately, Ron had already left. He was across the street. And because they had talked on the phone, but they hadn't ever met before. So by the time Julian kind of went around talking to people, and then I was able to kind of buttonhole him a little bit, and because he had sent me the original email and I had forwarded that on to Ron. So I introduced myself, so at least he had face with the name. And then
Yeah.
he said, "Where's Ron?" And I turned around and looked across the street because I had seen him over there, and I actually had gone across the street to talk to him, and he was already gone. So we were both disappointed that we couldn't go back over and see him. But he was nervous about the social distancing, and
Yeah.
so
He seemed to be truly excited.
yeah, he did.
all said come to fruition. So I assume everyone knows what it was. It's installed. You can walk down.
You can see it. Yeah,
Oh,
I
it looks
think-
great.
You can see it.
Doesn't look
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, love it.
And the Pomeroy Foundation will be doing another marker in Havre de Grace in the spring, commemorating a suffrage speech at Tidings Park in 1915. So a lot of us are learning some new history. And I have to say, I thought Mayor Martin did an absolutely superb introduction and talk. And I had to go quick home and look up. I mean, I knew about the election of 1824, but I did not realize that Lafayette had been in any way involved. Okay. Do you have anything else to report, Carolyn?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to bring everybody up to date on the homestead that all of the porches are going to be repaired. I think I mentioned that last week, and Tim mentioned something at the council meeting on Monday night about the porches and also the interior painting. So I know there's been some discussion back and forth about volunteers, but I had talked to him and I didn't think that was, not a good thing, liability issues, things like that. So I do believe the DPW is going to be taking responsibility for the interior painting as well as repairing all three of the porches.
Good. I had a
Okay.
I had a short conversation with him, and I suggested maybe we could do some research on appropriate historical colors, but that we just didn't really have the capacity to offer actual painting help, and they surely wouldn't want mine. So, well, great. Thanks.
Yeah, and then one last thing, and I'm going to really let Shane take the ownership on this one. But last week, we got a message from Shane, and it was about some of the new standards he's working to put into the ordinance for multifamily and new developments to make them more in keeping with the historic flavor of the town. So he also we talked about that a little bit during the first reading, and I had actually called it out. I think it's on page 12 of the document where he talks about the standards. So I did call that out during the council meeting so that if anybody that was listening or would listen later on, that they could pull up the document and go right to that, because I think the document's about 18 pages. So anyway, and then Shane mentioned it also during the meeting, and we'll be taking a vote on it. It'll be this coming council meeting.
This coming council meeting is a public hearing.
Public hearing, sorry.
So the public hearing is
Monday night.
It's coming Monday night. And
7
is there an
o'clock.
order number or some identifier on that?
Is it
Shane?
1044? Shane, I don't have my notes
I
with me.
apologize. I don't know the ordinance number on that one.
But it
sounds
does
right.
have a-
Yeah, it's
It
10.
has a number. Okay.
It does have a number, and I want to say 1044, 1043. So you should be, look in that area, you'll be able to find it.
Okay, great. All right.
And that's it for me.
Thanks, Carolyn. Okay, Dave, you have anything to share with us in terms of things going on in town? We'll jump ahead to the Conservation District under new business.
Yes, so I know there was a note on there about demolitions in town. As you know, the Congress Avenue property was demolished, and that's,
Right.
I'm not sure if I reported on this last time. I did enter the building prior to demolition to try to document it. I can tell you that the first floor there was nothing of any original nature in there. I did take pictures, but no original woodwork or trim or anything. It had been fairly violated over the years. I did not feel comfortable going upstairs. There was no internal access to the second floor. So I did not feel comfortable using those side stairs. So unfortunately, I was not able to document the upstairs. Another demolition that we did have completed was at 811 North Adams Street, which is in the North Park area. And that's good news. It was a very sad sort of situation that someone was actually living there for as long as they did. It was a very bizarre situation. Apparently the gentleman lived there for 40 or 50 years, and never paid a lick of rent. And because we were trying to ask him who he paid rent to and different things like that, and he had no idea. But the property is owned by Exelon, but it's leased by the city, the adjacent properties. And while not historic preservation related, there is the potential that the city could acquire some of those lands in the future as Exelon finishes out their permit for the re-permitting of the Conowingo Dam. So good stuff there on the north side of town. But that was an eyesore and dangerous, so we did get rid of that. If you don't mind, I'll just give you a brief follow-up a little bit more on what Carolyn said about the site plan ordinance. Just to clarify what it is and what it isn't. It's not specifically historic preservation related. I've been systematically going through the city code and updating zoning ordinances and zoning related ordinances. And as part of the site plan ordinance, the main gist of that ordinance is really to clarify procedural things and stuff like that. However, I did establish some what I'll call light design guidelines. They're not for existing structures or anything like that. It's mainly to ensure that in the historic district that we have a little bit more teeth and flexibility to require developers or whoever's doing a project to have some minimal material standards and design standards. Now, that is not for single family residences. It's mainly for any non-residential use or multifamily use. Multifamily is the only residential that would kind of be covered under that. The other thing that I did in there too was give the ability or require that any project that's within the National Register of Historic District be forwarded to the Historic Preservation Commission for review. Now, one thing I will apologize for is kind of in the busyness of everything going on, I should have brought that to you all beforehand and told you what I was doing and kind of gotten your blessing. But I think it's a good thing. So hopefully I'll get asked for forgiveness now. But I mean, it's all good stuff. So what I envision is that, let's say, for example, let's take a property that's been for sale for a long time. Let's say the Asher property comes in and finally gets redeveloped. That project would then be submitted to the Historic Preservation Commission, and you all would have the opportunity to review and formally comment on it. And then we would take that to the Planning Commission, and then it would also inform the Planning Commission to give them an idea of what the Historic Preservation Commission thinks the project should be, what it should look like, and any recommended, say different details, architecture, things like that. So I kind of believe in incremental government. There are certainly a lot of things that I would love to do very quickly, but in this case, it's taking those baby steps towards design guidelines. And I was pleasantly surprised that the administration, when they reviewed the ordinance, they had no issues with that. So I think that's a good indication that we're moving in the right direction for eventually codifying some more, I don't want to say aggressive, but that's the wrong word, but specific design standards maybe that we can apply to new infill residential development, whether it be single families or duplexes. We're not quite there yet, but I have ideas of how to move that forward, and I look forward to doing that in the coming months and year.
Shane, that's excellent. For something you might look at for future, or the future, whatever you want to put in. I know the city of San Francisco has something very similar. It's much more aggressive or assertive, if you want to use that word.
Right. Thank you. And I have I briefly looked at the city of San Francisco's design guidelines. I've done a lot of
excellent.
A lot of research on different towns, and especially towns that are more relatable to not that San Francisco's not, but for size perspective, to see how others are handling it. Because in the bigger cities, some of their guidelines can be a bit overbearing for a very small department.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
So just to be clear, this would apply to both new and existing structures?
No, it does not apply to existing at all. It applies to new development within the National Register Historic District. So any project that would come in that is commercial or multifamily. The only residential that it would apply to is multi. So for example, take the same property, the Asher property, and I think we all know what the Asher property is, correct?
Yeah, the big pink building.
Exactly. I'm getting better. After 2.5 years, I know kind of the colloquial names now of some of these properties. So I sort of feel like I'm starting to fit in. But
For Kansas benefit, it's at the corner of Washington and Congress.
right. So for example, back to that one again, if that came in and a developer came in and say they wanted to do, 50 apartments in an apartment building there, they would be subject to those design guidelines under the site plan ordinance. And the HPC would have the ability to review that and comment on that. And it gives you all a little bit more, I don't want to say authority, but it gives it a little bit more oomph to the Planning Commission to say, the Historic Preservation Commission supports this project, or the Historic Preservation Commission supports this project, but they feel that it should be brick on the front facade, or it should match this. It gives you a little bit more ability to do that and present that in front of the Planning Commission or Board of Appeals.
So just to throw out a hypothetical, I'm sorry, Kathy, go ahead. I'll ask mine
Oh, I
second.
just wanted to clarify. I think Shane's talking about the big pink cement block building on Market and,
Oh, all right.
Right.
that
Yeah,
great big.
that's what I thought he
That's the
meant.
one.
first.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that-
here goes my question. So that building gets torn down.
Mhm.
Then is it considered new construction?
It's redevelopment. I mean, yes, it is new construction, but
Yeah.
in
Alright.
planning world, it's really a redevelopment project.
Okay, and so, and this is something I'm embarrassed to admit I don't know. Are there height restrictions?
Yes, there are height restrictions, but as with any zoning code, it's dependent upon the use. So specific uses have different setbacks and height requirements and things like that.
Okay,
60 feet, I believe.
Yeah,
But-
so for
Yeah.
for each different zoning district has different setbacks and standards for each different use. It can be kind of convoluted, and I can tell you that the city code is that is under what's called Table 1 that establishes all those standards, and that's on my long list of things to get to fix because it's
Yeah,
very convoluted. Some of the things that are on there are no longer applicable. So it's in desperate need of updating, but it's a little bit down on the priority list of things right now.
well, I'd like to say thank you, Shane, because the Historic Preservation Commission has never had anything to do with it before. Nobody ever came to us and asked us for our advice about anything as far as the Planning Commission. And I think it's really good because I think the Planning Commission, Historic Preservation should sort of know what each other's doing a little bit.
I
Anyway, I really appreciate it. I think this is great.
couldn't agree more. I would agree with you 100%. And while it's not necessary, if you'd like to come out on Monday night or anybody would like to come out on Monday night, speak to it for support, that would be great.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything negative at this point, so I feel confident that it'll have a good showing at council, and council will adopt it hopefully.
Great. Well, thank you, Shane. That's
And
great.
that meeting is this Monday at 7?
Yes, sir. So it's a public hearing, so it'll be very first on the agenda, so you wouldn't have to stick around very long.
Great.
that would be wonderful if some of us are able to attend. Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
great.
Yeah, I think it's just it's that incremental step.
Yeah, it's important. It's an important step. But thank you.
Yes.
Okay, great. So any other property news that anyone wants to share?
No, but I forgot something. Let me see. I forgot something, Jean, on my comments. This is
Sure, go
November,
ahead.
and we should be hearing this month from the Maryland Historic Commission about our grant
Mhm.
Good.
that you submitted. So the deadline is, for them to let us know is this month. I talked to Diane towards the end of last week, and we don't have any idea whether it'll be Monday, Tuesday, or it'll be at the
Right.
end of the month. But she doesn't seem to think that they'll wait that long till the end of the month before they let the municipalities and the applicants know whether their application's been accepted. So fingers crossed that
Yeah.
we get the word soon and that our proposal was accepted. So
Yep, think
Fingers-
positive.
fingers crossed all month till we hear.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we sure as heck do it, and I have to say publicly that Diane was enormous help. More than a help. Okay, I know Kathy, you wanted to say something about the Lafayette Trail app or some other aspect of the Lafayette Trail.
Yeah, I did have a couple things to say, but if you want to let Shane go ahead and talk about the conservation district first, I mean,
Okay,
I
sure. We
don't
can
mind.
change
that.
the order. We can change the order. And I know Shane's probably already had a long day.
Yeah, yeah.
City Hall. So Shane, why don't you go ahead, and I know in your usual precise style, you were admonishing not to present you as an expert on conservation districts, and I promise not to do that. But we're all in learning mode, so we'd love to hear what you think its application might possibly be in Havertide Grace.
Sure. So I'm very lucky. I've talked about her before, but my former colleague that worked for me at the county, Caitlin Merritt, she's moved on to Baltimore County, but she's just fabulous. She really knows her stuff, and she sent a very nice email to me when I asked her her opinion on conservation districts, or if she could give me a little bit more background on that. And so conservation districts are kind of like what I'm referring to as design guidelines light. She told me that they're using conservation districts more so that they're not overbearing historic preservation districts that some people fear. She said it's more neighborhood oriented, that if you find a specific neighborhood that has certain characteristics, you design a conservation district around that neighborhood. And it also goes back to what I was talking about, what I want to do with infill guidelines. And there's some good news coming out of Harford County right now that I'll touch on in a little bit with design guidelines. But so she calls it the cute factor. So conservation districts are more concerned with preserving the cute factor of neighborhoods. And that might be preserving porches or requiring new construction to have porches, or certain architectural details, but very light, not heavy-handed, not preservation-oriented. So that's really kind of it in a nutshell with conservation districts, whereas a historic district really is going to be broader and have more preservation focus to it. So it's really a kind of a balance between preservation and promotion and design. So I really feel that a conservation district is not, I don't want to say that it's not appropriate for the city of Havertide Grace, but the city is so small, and I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm speaking out of turn, as obviously I'm not as well versed in the history of Havertide Grace, but you know, I don't see Havertide Grace as a city of very diverse, different neighborhoods. I think if it were, then that's where a conservation district would be more appropriate. So at this time, it's just my opinion, just for discussion, and I'll leave it up to you all, is that, you know, we shouldn't break it down into neighborhoods. We should just look at a preservation program or some type of promotion program for the whole National Register Historic District. Instead, it'll get too cumbersome if we start looking at, you know, well, this area of the city has this conservation district and has these standards or requirements in this area. I don't think that we're that big to need that.
Is it wise or practical to consider legislating local guidelines that are, do we have a choice to legislate local guidelines that are, quote, light, as opposed to following the Secretary of Interior's guidelines?
Yeah, so what I just learned from the county, I'll touch on this a little bit. I haven't gotten any more information yet, but I spoke with the Deputy Director of Planning who I used to work for at the county, and they just put out an RFP for design guidelines for historic districts and I believe their villages, because there's a village zoning district in the county, and that we will be able to utilize those standards if we decide to go in that direction, and if there is an appetite from the administration or council to do that. So we will have a lot of the legwork done for design guidelines that are specific to this county. Now, I can't tell you at this point if there'll be any analysis of architectural styles or themes, and Havre de Grace is part of that. But certainly the architectural styles from certain periods in this county are fairly consistent. So in my opinion, so we'll be able to borrow from them. And if the idea is that we'll move something forward with design guidelines for infill development, it'll make it a lot easier instead of having to start from scratch. Did that answer your question, Jean?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, anyone else want to jump in?
I saw the video about New Brunswick, and actually the guidelines that they came up with were historic preservation guidelines. You know, I didn't think they were really light.
No, they weren't. They weren't. I don't think they were light.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were kind of a happy medium. They weren't too overbearing. And
some of them were suggestions. They weren't requirements. Maybe that was the wording was a little bit different. I wondered about whether I like the idea of not using historic preservation district, because it right away gets people just the words get people defensive about it. So using a different term, I think that might be helpful. And like you said, take baby steps, because we've never gotten anywhere with this in this town. So,
well, I think one of the things that if you watch the Brunswick, and I gotta say, I've played music in Brunswick a few times, and it's a great little town. Potomac, not far from Shepherdstown and Harper's Ferry. So I do encourage you to get out there if you have an opportunity. But one of the things that I was really impressed with was they appeared to be highly coordinated and all pretty much on the same page. But the most important factor to overcoming fears is that they had what appeared to me a very robust education component to what they were doing. And so they were able to address any fears right away and explain really what was going on, instead of letting the rumor mill, dictate what was happening.
Right.
Yeah, I think it'd be very important to be really transparent and nothing, that in order to get anything to go. I do think there is a will from some residents and visitors. In fact, I do these guided tours, and they all are shocked to hear that we don't have any protections for our buildings, because they say, "Oh, I love this building. I love this building," and they'll come, I guess they protect these buildings, right? And I'll say, well, unfortunately, no. I said, if somebody wanted to tear down that Le Banc de Flore, they could. So they're always shocked at that. And residents too, because we do tours for local people, and they're shocked at it. So I do think that even residents value our history and our old buildings. And I think if we took it slow and easy, maybe we'll get somewhere.
I can assure you that we are getting somewhere. I don't know where the destination is at this point, but the wheels are turning, and we're heading in what I believe is the right direction. And
I know, I think so too, from what I hear.
Unfortunately, with the time of year and COVID and all, especially now that we're getting back into COVID second surge or second wave, whatever you want to call it. Attention is in those areas right now, unfortunately, especially at City Hall.
Well, another thing I thought of about when I was looking at that video, they were talking about a different, smaller area. And I thought, and maybe that would be more palatable if we started with an area like, say, the Otsego action, the Otsego Ontario Action Committee, that group, that, what is it, the 600, 700, 800 block of Ontario, and then part of Otsego. Like if we started at maybe a district like that, where probably a lot of those people would be buy-ins for it. The people
Well,
that
one thought I had, I'm sorry, Kathy, I didn't mean.
No, that's it. That's all I had to say.
You're heading down a good path there. I thought one strategy could be, arguably, Union Avenue has the most prominent. I think not too many people would argue with that.
Yeah.
That it might be beneficial to start off by biting that off as a district, as almost like a Main Street preservation district. And you would take all those parcels from one end of Union Avenue to the other, put that in the district, and you could, like for other overlay districts that I've seen, you can say, and any abutting parcels. So it doesn't have to be right on Union Avenue, but kind of create that corridor Main Street overlay district, and you could start there as a starting point.
That's a good idea.
Potentially grow it from there. But those are things that I suggest that you all as a group really start looking at some of these things and looking at some other places and just come up with ideas. And if you come up with ideas, forward them to me, then I can also, along with Carolyn, I can talk to the administration and see what things that they would be willing to have me pursue or have the commission pursue. But, that's, as I've said all along, you all are my historic preservation planner. I can't hire a historic preservation commission planner. So you guys are the planners, and your expertise and passion is invaluable for me to be able to move things forward. And we're also very lucky, to have Diane Clare,
Yes.
who, she loves everything about Havre de Grace history. So she's going to take an active role in that. And at some point, probably I'm going to turn it over to her because she has a little bit more expertise in that area than I do.
Now, I like the Union Avenue thing. I thought we could go from Freedom Lane, which is behind Union Avenue, to the water for the first district.
It's all going geography, however you want to draw it.
Yeah, I think we ought to include the Main Street, Washington.
And if we
because
did,
that's good for our businesses, because people want to see businesses in historic buildings. It sort of is very appealing.
And it doesn't have to be contiguous. I mean, you could have non-contiguous. You could have a Union Avenue Main Street district, and then you could have a Washington Street Main Street district. These are all just things that need to flesh out and get some ideas.
That gives us something to think about.
yes, it does.
Carol, did you have something to say? I think you were raising your hand.
Yeah, I was.
Carol?
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
A couple of things. In the video, they were talking about what was most important, and Shane commented on this, that we prepare ourselves and really make it clear and know what the guidelines would be, so that if there's any opposition, we're very clear and we educate people about that, because that was one of the early obstacles for them when people would get upset. They said we had all our guidelines in place. Another thing that I heard them say is that Preservation Maryland came to their town and spoke at a city hall meeting. And I think that if we could do that, that would be helpful to us, to the city, and they could almost kind of help walk us through the process, if you will. What do you think about that, Shane or Gene or anybody?
I think that's an excellent idea, Carol. One of the things that I thought about doing that, we might be putting the cart before the horse a little bit with that because we're not there yet, but I agree with you 100%. But one of the things that I may do, although I have to see if it's okay, I'd like to try to bring Caitlin into one of these Zoom meetings. Once we formalize a little bit more of the direction that you all would like to go or the administration would like to go, Caitlin's in Baltimore County, so I'd have to get the okay from her. But you know, I'm sure, I know that she'd be willing to come on and talk to us about what we're doing and give us some guidance and advice. I fully trust her and her opinions.
Yeah, I'd love to hear her.
Yeah,
I have no objection to inviting the new historic preservation planner from Harford County on. I haven't met him yet.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the county. Go ahead, Shane. I'm sorry. You wanted.
I haven't met the new historic preservation planner at the county yet.
Mhm.
I think he's probably still getting established. So we could reach out to them at some point too to talk about their design guidelines. But I'm all about using any resource you have. I'm the king of my motto is I know a little bit about a lot of stuff, but not much about anything. So that's why I rely on a lot of different people to give me advice and opinions and distill them down from there.
If we could just go back for a minute to the, unless someone else had something they wanted to particularly follow up with now. I don't want to hog things. If we could go back, Shane, to the RFP that the county is doing for historic districts. Is that to develop lines that will be, you know, can be implemented across the county? Or
yes.
Particular... Go ahead.
Yes. So as I think you all know, the county was designated as a certified local government, right. CLG designation.
Yeah, I had asked you about
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
No.
And this is kind of a outgrowth of that, or a result of that, I believe. So I don't have all the details, but I certainly can probably get a hold of that RFP. But what we could utilize them, for example, if we wanted to do like an infill design guideline for new infill residential development, we could use those design guidelines. So that's the beauty of it. They'll do all the legwork. Won't cost us anything, and hopefully we can benefit from that.
Great.
Yeah, actually, the thing I gave you, Roger, to scan is an article about the CLG designation for the Harford County. Did you? I don't remember getting that from you.
I know I sent it back to you.
You did? Okay, I apologize. I will share that. It's just a little article from one of the local papers about it.
I'll get more information.
It jumped out at me, and I thought, oh, that's interesting.
What was the article with the old barn in the photograph?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you had sent that to me. Okay, I will
still have it. If you can't find it, I can resend it to you.
Okay, I apologize. Sometimes my email gets to me. Okay, does anyone have any more questions about the conservation district, or maybe some comments? The Brunswick example I thought was really instructive, not only because of the sort of deliberative way they shared it as a community study kind of thing that's already been mentioned, but also two things that jumped out at me. One was that they admitted that their historic buildings many of them had been significantly altered. Well, I think in some ways, yes, we've had some awful things happen here in Havre de Grace in terms of demolitions and muddlings, or whatever they're called in this Old House Journal. But I think we have a lot of buildings that look pretty darn good. What we want to make sure is that they continue to be protected.
Yeah.
And the other thing that jumped out at me was this whole idea of like with like, that I don't know whether people caught, but they addressed the whole replacement window thing and a bunch of other things that have been kind of hot button issues for folks who push back against keeping their properties up to certain historic preservation standards. So I thought that was kind of interesting, especially some of the stuff that they said about old windows, which, having done an old house and not having replaced the windows, I can attest to you that they are wonderful, even though they're all different sizes. Yeah, but does anybody else have any other questions they might want to have about anything?
No, I just wanted to mention that I did watch the Brunswick film, and I found it very interesting the way they approached the whole situation, how they drew their areas and things like that. But so Kathy Lee, I was going to recommend that maybe when you do the minutes, for anybody who might be looking at them online, you can just add the link so other people have an opportunity to look at it, and you know, they'll be
Great idea.
thinking about it, and they can always comment to us, or once we get started diving into some of this, they can participate and know what we're talking about right off the top.
Excellent idea, Carolyn.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
yeah,
And
it was interesting to watch. It was kind of fun.
And kudos to Preservation Maryland for bringing that kind of really practical look at how one municipality, which is much smaller than Havre de Grace, it's only 6,000 people, but as Shane alluded, it's in a very, you know, historic area along the Potomac, and you know, they get a lot of visitors like we do, and you know, there's certain similarities for sure. So
I like the fact that they had nothing. They admitted that they had no guidelines. They had no idea really what they were doing from the start. And that step-by-step process, they were kind of feeling around in the dark, it sounded like, in the beginning. And that's hopeful. Because that's a little bit like we are, I think.
Yeah, because what I got out of it, I didn't think they even had a historic preservation commission because they appointed a whole new committee to do it. You know?
Yeah.
So it sounded to me like they didn't have a historic preservation commission.
Yeah.
So we're
I
ahead
don't
of the way.
I don't know what the backstory is on that, but clearly the group they had working on this was effective and very deliberative and very good. So great. All right. Does anybody else have anything to add about Conservation District, or can we move on to the next item? Kevin? I know it's silly to say this, but I always think when I'm on Zoom, am I on Hollywood Squares? A show I didn't not watch, but I sort of have this, you know, vague image of people just being in boxes.
Kathy to block.
Yes.
If you all are done with me, I'm going to step out if that's okay.
Thanks so much, Shane.
Thank you,
I'm going to
Shane.
keep,
Thank you.
I'll keep pushing things forward. I know it's slow, but just bear with me and we'll keep things moving.
Thank you.
Thanks. West. I see your music. You're in your music room.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll expect a historic preservation song at some point.
I'll prepare that for you.
Thanks, Shane.
Have an evening all.
Okay, thanks, Shane.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
One thing that I think would be helpful to all of us is that if everyone took an assignment of some kind. So for example, you know, we have a treasurer and a secretary, we've got a Lafayette Trail person, we've got different folks doing different things, awards and stuff. And I just think all of us need to step up and have our own little portfolio in this commission. So in January or December, I guess I put December, didn't hear. I would love to see people volunteer to do a certain thing. Because I think serving on the commission is not merely coming to the meetings, it's also doing work outside the commission. Now, that said, I know some of us still work for a living or run businesses or have other demands on their time, but I really think it's important that happen. And I don't know whether, Kathy, you need some help with the awards. I don't know where you are with that, whether you want to still continue with our schedule that we've had in the past.
Yeah, who, me?
Yeah.
Or Kathy Lee? Yeah, I want to continue with the Historic Preservation Awards and everything I've been doing.
Right, and I thank you for being willing to do that. But do you want us to continue with a January schedule for deciding on the awardees?
Yeah, you know, I always depended on Ron to remind me of when we had to do this, you know, like when we have to pick these awards. And you're right, it's getting close. So,
it is. So, you know, if someone would like to volunteer to help with Kathy on that specific thing, that's great. But if you know, I really think it's important that everyone, it doesn't have to be a huge task, but it has to be something that's done outside the commission.
I'll help
meeting.
Kathy.
Thank you, Carol.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing I do need help with, and I always ask the commission every year, is go out there and find some candidates for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's only me looking for all these candidates,
Right.
and they're
Right.
very hard to find. I feel strongly that they should be historic preservation, not anything that they want to stick to the standards. And if we don't have anybody, then so be it.
Then we won't
know?
give an award. That's
Right.
fine. Yeah.
Right.
So-
That's how I feel about it.
Every single person on this commission should feel, you know, required or whatever to try to come up with suggestions. That doesn't mean they'll be chosen, but we'll give Kathy and Carol
Give me,
some-
and I've every year just about, I send out to everybody the guidelines that you're looking for. When
Right.
you're seeing if we have any properties that would meet these criteria for one of our awards, because, you know, if we're given a historic preservation award from the Historic Preservation Commission, we've made mistakes in the past of choosing properties that probably really didn't deserve it when we look closer at them and all that. So I think we can do better.
Now, Kathy, did we do the Hitchcock House at 416?
Well, that's the beautification award.
You think so?
Yes. He replaced all the windows and it's not historic. And how about that railing?
Oh, that's true. I forgot about the railing. Yes. Because I was going to
So
say that
that's
the windows
not
were already
historic.
replaced before he replaced them.
Yeah, that's.
But I
not
forgot
historic.
about the railing.
The Hitchcock House is sort of an example of the conservation idea.
Right,
where
it
you-
could
you
be,
still-
right.
You still have a historical look, but
Yeah.
it's replacement windows, modern porch, etc.
Yeah.
And I do have one comment. I think that third floor round window is horrible.
Oh, it
Yeah.
is.
It's terrible.
I have pictures of the old one, the original one.
Yeah. Okay.
There was an effort for all the other windows to be traditional, but that top
Yeah,
window is not at all
right.
traditional.
I agree. And one thing I've noticed on these old houses that people are redoing is these metal railings on the front porch. Have you ever noticed that? A lot of people are putting these skinny metal railings on the front porch instead of regular,
Well, Alan Fair said that that's what the young people wanted now.
I know. I understand that they're, I can understand the pros of it because they're cheaper for one thing, and they're less maintenance.
Right. They don't rot.
Well, when you're doing historic preservation, all of you know this, that there is an issue with finding craftspeople who know how to do stuff.
Yeah,
And,
there is.
That's for sure.
That's a very big issue. I can tell from my own experience, having a proper new curved railing on a huge wraparound porch. I mean, it was.
Oh, but that's hard to do.
We were lucky because can you believe it? We actually found a guy who had worked on Independence Hall in Philadelphia. We were like,
Holy
really?
moly.
It's just our house. So it is difficult finding craftspeople. And I know from my dad working on the Lock House years ago,
Right.
I'm sure the shutters need replacement, but they had to find people up in Lancaster or somewhere who knew how to do things. So finding people who can do things, and sometimes people, choose to take whatever's available without really doing a historic.
Yeah, well, we do have a list of people, our historic HPC, we have a list of contractors and
Yes.
carpenters and mason workers that we can go by, we can look into.
And by the way, I just noticed on Preservation Maryland, they have a very ambitious list. Now, many of them are not, obviously, Hartford County, but we should probably link to that as well. I think it's called Preserve List. I meant to
Preserve
send it-
list, right. I've heard of it, but I haven't looked at it lately.
That's something that we should probably all be aware of. And in terms of, I'll just jump ahead. I know that many of us have never been involved, including me, with I've attempted that one workshop that MHT had here in town, but I think we should all be really mindful of what Maryland Historic Trust does with grants, and there are a bunch of webinars on their capital grant
Mhm.
program. Again, obviously MHT has very skilled, experienced, planners and policy people and grant helpers. But I think we really should know what could a business get here in town if they went for one of these grants. So I have a link there on your agenda to the webinars this month and then in January. And, I know one of their goals is to make grant applications less onerous and easier for people to do. And so if you want to learn about that, we could do that as well. I think it was on preservation, Meryl, and I noticed that there's something. I know we talked several years ago about the condition of some of the cemeteries in town and some concern. I know some things have been improved, but there is a group called the Coalition to Protect Maryland Burial Society sites, and they're meeting here in Havre de Grace in May of 2021.
Oh, really? Wow.
So I just happened to fall upon that information. I don't know, Carol, do you know, have they asked for rooms at your place?
Oh, not yet. My gosh, I'd like to reach out to them.
And our Angel Hill, we're so concerned about our Angel
So
Hill.
anyway, I just happened to notice that, so I put it there.
Thank you.
And sure. And does anyone else have announcements or comments or anything?
Well, I want to get back to the two things I want to talk about having to do with the Lafayette Trail at some point.
Oh, that's right.
I'm sorry. Yes, Kathy, thank you. Why don't you go ahead and do that now? Yes, forgive me.
Okay,
Yep.
There's two issues with the Lafayette Trail right now. First of all, the Lafayette Trail medallions. I walked and marking the Lafayette Trail. First of all, I found out that we can't put these medallions in the sidewalks anywhere else except on the trail. I mean, I talked to Steve Gavatori about that. So that's out. We have two of them that were placed off the trail, which was wrong. And that won't happen again. So I was talking to Steve about these medallions. Now, right now, I counted them. We have 86 total painted fleur-de-lis marking the trail. And we have 22 bronze medallions on the trail. Of those 22, 10 of them were purchased by Historic Preservation. The cost of these are $450 a piece, including installation by DPW. So in order to really fully mark the whole trail, it's going to take at least 64 of these bronze medallions. So that's something to just keep in mind, because the painted fleur-de-lis in some places are almost invisible. They're really fading badly. They're great. I mean, a cheaper thing would just be have them all painted again, but I guess the city isn't going to do that. But anyway, if we're just going to let them go, then we have to try to mark this trail. So the way we've been marking it for Candace and other people is we try to get people to sponsor a medallion, to buy a medallion for $450, put it on the trail, and it can say things like dedicated to, sponsored by. And we have, like I said, we have 10 of them up. The last 4, I think we got HPC paid for them out of our escrow funds, and they were for deceased members of the HPC. If you walk around, you'll see some of them. And we also did one right in front of the old Dubois Lumber Company house that's going to be demolished. So that was one that was the last ones we got. We did use our escrow funds to pay for them. But the only way we can spend our escrow funds is by council approval. And we have over $6,000 in our account. And I mean, what are we going to do with it? I feel like we ought to buy more of these medallions.
I agree with you, Kathy. I think it's a great idea. We have this money just sitting there.
Yeah.
I mean, and it would benefit the city. So I'm sure they'd go along with it. I mean, they did the last time. What do you think, Carol?
Okay, well, Kathy, what did you use the escrow funds before the medallions?
I don't even remember us hardly Yeah, that's a good question because I don't
Yeah.
remember us. We always used our regular account because we got enough money and we always used that for things like brochures,
Mhm.
reprinting of all of our published materials. But, that really, our biggest expense right now is the Lafayette Trail brochure. And that we have to get that every 3 years, but we have enough of our regular account to pay for that. So
Right.
we never really used our escrow account.
Okay,
And
because the
it's
only
just-
thing I would caution is just not deplete the escrow account. So if you feel that you can use maybe at your maximum, maybe 10 more medallions.
Well, why
Which
not
would still-
deplete it? I mean, why not deplete it? We can't use it.
Well, there may be
for-
other things. I mean, that's why I'm asking you to think about what you've used it for in the past.
Yeah,
Because
I
this
don't
isn't
know.
this isn't something that's built over, I mean, this is an account that's built over some time.
20
Right.
years. It's been like, I think at
Right.
least 15 years or more. We've been dripping money into this account from things that we've been doing. Money.
Sure, absolutely.
And I don't know unless we can spend it on like, what did you say? Something about donating. We can't donate to the foundation because the city wouldn't approve that. We were going to donate some money to the foundation, but they wouldn't approve that. Or I guess any foundation, not just the Historic Cavity Race Foundation. I just don't know what we're going to spend this money on. So I think this is a good cause.
I think it's a great cause.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not a good, I'm not saying it's not a good cause. I'm just saying maybe you want to think about not depleting the whole account, at least right away. So if you wanted to do 10 more medallions, that's $4,500. So that still leaves you with a couple thousand left in case there's something else. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
that's
and-
what I thought.
I have two questions. One is, we did talk about other things to spend the money on. One of them was to sponsor a lectureship during her Historic Preservation Month. What that would be.
I remember just sponsoring
Yeah.
what? You and I talked about it.
a
Sponsor.
lecture. Yeah, because I feel very strongly that we ought to be doing something during Historic Preservation Month. There's, excellent materials and publicity about it from National Preservation and from Preservation Maryland. So that's for another meeting. But I'm just realizing that, if we still need 64 medallions to properly mark the trail, that's almost $30,000. So obviously we can't even.
Well,
you
I'm
know-
not proposing that we spend all the money.
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying
Right.
that's leading up to a question of let's say we did, 10 more or whatever. Carolyn, what were you saying, 10? Yeah. 10.
Suggested
Yeah.
10 because of it's a round number basically for,
Is there a way to really strategically place those
Mhm.
so that we're maximizing their
Yes.
navigational
Right.
purpose?
Well,
Are
that's
there
the other
places
thing. I
where
noticed there's
they're-
certain places nobody wants to
Uh-huh.
put there. If the people who are buying this, nobody wants to put them in certain places. They always
but
want to put them in.
so
Right.
he can still recommend if somebody doesn't know, like Ron recommended, I said, it didn't matter to me so much where it went. So he put it across the street from the old Bayou Hotel, the
Bayou,
condos, yeah, the
right.
Bayou hotels.
Right.
So,
we're
I mean,
We're talking about the ones that HPC is purchasing. We can decide that they
oh,
go
we could
in
decide
places
that, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant private parties.
that need it.
No,
Yeah,
we
that-
let
I'm not-
them put, I think if somebody wants to spend the money, they can put it anywhere they want as long as it's on the trail, to me, in my mind.
Mhm.
Forgive me,
We-
Kathy, we're not talking about the privately funded ones. We're talking about the
Right.
ones funded by the HPC.
Yes, yes. I was thinking that we have one order, Steve Gamatoria ordered one. And
Okay.
if we bought 7 more, that would be a total of 8, or we could buy 9 more and we'd be a total of 10 in addition to his. And I knew a couple people that were interested. One of them was Goldman. What's that lady's name that lives?
Debbie
Debbie.
Gold-
Debbie Goldman. I thought she might be interested. So Judy was going to call her and see if she was interested in putting an order in. And then the neighbor lives right next door to Steve Gamatoria. Steve told me he was planning to buy one, but he never he never did. So I dropped something in his mailbox. We might be placing an order soon. If you're
Well,
interested, let me
Those
know.
are private. Yeah, we're talking about what we can purchase. Are you ready to make a motion that we spend some of our escrow money on purchasing more medallions, Kathy, or
Yes,
you want to build it? for
because
another
I
time?
have one more. I have one more question
Yeah.
before you do that.
Sure, go ahead, Roger.
Obviously, the private people who order these are going to come up with their own dedication.
yes.
If the HPC purchases these, how do you decide what sort of dedication would there be for these?
Well, all the ones that are already installed from the HPC all say sponsored by the Haverty Grace Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay.
So I was just going to suggest that we use that unless somebody else wants something different.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned some of them were dedicated to former members.
Yeah, Ron, except for the ones that we just ordered, that was Ron's idea. Dedicated them to people who were deceased from the commission, and I think like Madeline Shank, and I think maybe even your mother. I don't know, Norma Montgomery. I'm not sure.
Yes,
yeah.
Ron told me that. I didn't know anything about it, but yes,
Yeah.
that was very kind. That was very
Yeah.
kind.
So that is another thing we could do, or we could just say sponsored by Historic Preservation Commission, unless somebody had some other ideas. But that can be all decided later. That doesn't have to be decided tonight.
Okay.
I'd like, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd like to see one dedicated to Charlie Montgomery as well. Really.
That's nice. Actually, Carol, I've been meaning to buy one, but I'd like to put it down at the beginning of the trail, but there's no sidewalk there. So that we can talk about that offline.
Yeah.
sometime.
So
Thank
yeah,
you.
if we decide to buy some from our escrow funds, we would have to have it approved by the council. Carolyn would take it to the council, and then we would order them. We have to order at least 6, but we can order more than 6. And the reason for the at least 6 is because of the cost of the installation. The DPW has to rent a machine, a special machine to put them in, and doesn't make sense for them financially if we have less than 6. But I found out that we can order more than 6.
My feeling is with the cold weather coming and with all the pressures on our city staff during this pandemic, that we not do this until the beginning of the year. Then we can order them in February or something, and they can be ready to be installed in the spring. That's my feeling. But
or we
everybody
could
can
order 'em and
decide.
just
You can
hold
put
on
forward
to-
a motion if you wish.
Right, we can order them and then hold on to them until DPW will do it.
I don't know, what is the order time? What is the time between
It
delivery?
doesn't take long to get them. What
All right.
takes the longest is for DPW to install them.
Yeah, we understand that.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to get them. So we could always wait. So anybody else have any questions about these medallions? And I guess we'll have to decide how many before I make a motion that we would order.
I would like to see 10. That
So
would
if we
be the
order
amount of our
9,
escrow count.
right, if we order 9, because Steve is ordered 1. So that's 10. And it's a nice even number too,
Yeah.
rather than 11.
So we would order 9 of them.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so the motion would have to include that we want to order 9 of them.
Yes.
Well, Kathy, you want to hear back from Steve's neighbor too as well, right?
Well, since we're probably not going to put the order in right away.
Oh, okay, all right.
You
I didn't
know,
know if you were-
we can wait to see if he responds to me, or if Goldman responds. And if they do, we could still order 9. And that would be 2 more, We wouldn't have to really change this motion.
Right, but I mean, just to order them all together again for the.
Yeah, we have to order them all together. So I think it's a good idea just to wait a little while, see if those other 2 orders come in. So I propose that we use our escrow funds to purchase 9 bronze medallions to be installed in the sidewalk on the Lafayette Trail in a location of our choosing. and we'll decide when we're going to order them later. You know, they probably won't be installed in the spring anyway. So, and I'll take care of ordering them and getting them ordered. And what happens is then Carolyn puts it in front of the council. I think they'll agree with it. Then they'll let George Doherty know. And then when he gets the invoice from the company, I think it's called Portside, then he'll know to pay that out of our escrow account. That's how it works.
Right. There's a slight process change to that, remember, because we were under admin for financial things.
Oh,
so
however,
Ms. Ayers will get that
okay
voice. So it was just
Kathy, I second your proposal, your motion.
Thank
You
you.
didn't make the motion yet, did you?
Oh, I thought
I
she did.
thought I said I moved.
she started out with
Okay.
that.
Okay, so I moved to purchase 9 bronze medallions for our Lafayette Trail to mark our trail and pay for it with our escrow funds.
Okay, Kathy, your turn, Kathy Lee.
Oh, I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Anyone opposed?
Okay.
Okay, great.
I think it would be helpful. I know I had lost track of the whole project a bit, other than obviously noticing them as I walk around town. But Judy had given me a list of 18 from last summer.
Right.
And I know you were going around and checking on
Yeah.
them, Kathy. Maybe it would be lovely if you could share that list with commission members. And, you know, as we're
You mean
out
all
and
the
about.
locations? All
The
the
current-
locations?
Right,
I mean,
the current.
I don't really
you
think it's that important as far as actually where they are. Other than when we decide where to put them, I have some suggestions of places I noticed that we need to put them on. Basically, Erie, water, nobody puts any there, nothing there. Up Stokes, at the beginning of the trail. Well,
Okay.
you know, that's where they're needed, really, not so much in the middle of town.
I'm not suggesting we'll all go around and look at them. I think a list needs to be maintained in the records of the commission. I know you're keeping track, but I would like a copy, and I can put it in the folder.
Yeah, other than that list that Judy gave you, I found 22 of them. So
Okay.
there are more than what she gave you, but I don't know where
Right, well,
those
that
new
was
ones
my
are.
I'm not sure, but we ought to have a list somewhere documented. Okay, great. All
Well,
right.
that's good.
Anybody got anything else before we all get to go off to other things? I
Well,
know.
Yes, I wanted to mention that some people might want to have medallions that are not on the trail. We were going to design a medallion for people that didn't want to have them on the Lafayette Trail.
Well, you can't have them in the sidewalk.
Yeah,
We're
Kathy
not allowed,
has.
no sidewalk installations. So we'll have to talk about that another time. If we want to have any other kind of a marker that would be actually on a building or something. But we can't install anything on any sidewalks other than the Lafayette Trail medallions. That's what Steve told me.
That's weird.
So yeah, I talked to him about it after this whole thing came up.
I do think there is an issue here because the cement sidewalks are made and maintained by the city, and they get to decide what goes in it.
I agree with them. I don't think there's anything wrong. We can't be putting things all willy-nilly in the sidewalks, you know?
Yeah.
I do think that if we see an opportunity to address something that someone wants that supports, you know, commemorating history in some way, maybe we can come up with some other ideas.
Right. That's what I think. We always wanted to mark historic buildings in some way, but we just can't do it in the sidewalk. There's one other thing, and I'm sorry about taking up so much time. That's about the tours, the guided walking tours. For since the beginning of 2020, we haven't had any tours. And then all of a sudden we've had 2 tours recently. One Kathleen led, and that was a family of 3 people who moved to Haverty Grace about a year ago. And then on the 9th, I mean, yeah, last Sunday, whatever day that was, Ron led a tour of Girl Scouts, fourth graders. And that was, that troop leader loved the tour. Now she wants another tour for her 7th grade Girl Scouts. And she requested Ron to be the leader of it. And I didn't go on the tour with him because I wanted to watch the Ravens game. But I always go up to the visitor center and meet the people and fill out the tour record and take the money and stuff like that. So anyway, I have from Kathleen, and we pay our tour guides $20 to do the tour. A lot of times people don't take the $20. They just donate it to the historic preservation. Now, this is something that goes into our escrow account. So, I mean, we can continue to put it in our escrow account, which I don't know. I think it's kind of fruitless to keep on adding to that account, although we are going to have a big expenditure. All the guides are foundation members. So I would like to have a discussion about donating these tour proceeds to the foundation instead of putting it in the historic preservation escrow fund. And we don't have to decide tonight. I know people probably want to leave, but right now I have $50 I'm holding on to from those tours. Ron took his $20 and he's going to donate that to the foundation. Kathleen didn't take her $20. So from those 2 tours, I have $50. Now, I only charge $5 a person when I have students or scouts, $5 a kid, and chaperones are free. So we don't make a lot of money off of that, but I still think it's important, to do it. And and another thing, I got patches, Girl Scout patches made by Gabby Frank. They're adorable. They have a lighthouse. Let me just show you. Hold on.
I suggested to Kathy when she brought this up that the tours just ought to be done by the foundation, but she pointed out that because they're done under the auspices of the city, there's an insurance issue here.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Nice.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh,
Isn't
that's
it?
nice. Who made these?
This is Gabby Frank made this. The detail on this lighthouse is amazing. Look at it.
Is it stitched?
It's stitched.
Wow.
It's beautiful. So $5 each. Gabby charged me for these. So I just paid for it out of my personal funds. And then I told the troop leader, if you want a patch, they're $5 each. So the tour will be $5 for the tour and $5 for the patch. And then I just took the money because I had already paid for the patches. So that's how I'm doing that. I'm not going to get that involved with, but she loved them.
So back up for a minute here. The person who made the patches, they're going to the visitor center or what? Where are the patches?
No, Gabby Frank, who works at Blue Earth. You know her?
No,
she does a lot of stuff, sewing stuff.
Okay.
I stopped in, this was Lori Orzowitz's idea. She said, we should get.
Lovely. You were confusing me because Girl Scouts do patches.
Right.
This
she said,
patch. I was very confused. I'm sorry.
The Girl Scout leader asked me if I had a patch. And I said, oh, no, we don't have that. I didn't know. And then I told Lori about it. And she said, we could get a patch made. And she said, go down and talk to Gabby, which I did. She spent like an hour with me designing it and charged me $5 a piece, which the troop leader loved them. She said, oh, the girls love them, wanted to bring another troop in and they all want patches. So it's just kind of a little promotional thing. So that's worked out well. And but as far as the money made from the walking tours, personally, I'd like to just donate it to the foundation. But I don't know if you want to decide tonight or you just want to think about it. I'd really like the foundation to take over these guided walking tours, but I don't know because Ron said because of liability.
Right, that we have the insurance problem.
If anybody got hurt on a tour.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of the issue. Why? But really, see, even if we gave the funds that we make from these guided tours, we gave that to the foundation. See, all the guides are already part of the foundation, and it would benefit the city. So even though the city wouldn't be getting the proceeds for the tour, they'd be getting the benefit of us doing these tours for tourism, you know? So I think the city benefits from the tours, even if they don't get the funds, which
Well, of
if
course,
it goes into our HPC, if it goes into our escrow accounts, city funds. So
Yeah.
that's something I was thinking about.
Kathy, I don't see why it would be such a big issue because let's face it, if, for example, everybody said, no, we shouldn't give to the foundation, whoever's the guide has the freedom to say, well, whatever money I get, I'm giving it to the foundation. So either way, it can go to the.
Oh, really? So what we've been doing is the guide has just been keeping tips, whatever tips he gets, plus the $20 payment. And then we put that into the foundation. But as far as the actual charge, I charge $10 a person for adults. And then I just have this special low fee for Girl Scouts and students and stuff like that.
Well, Kathy, isn't the charge the same for everyone? Like, doesn't
Yeah.
everyone charge the same for adults and the same for children?
Everyone who, oh yeah, you mean
Anyone
us?
who does the tours? I mean, this isn't just a
No, it's,
flexible.
I'm the coordinator of it. And so I pretty much decide on these
Okay.
charges. We used to be
Okay, but everybody
$12,
charges the same.
always $10 each.
Okay, okay.
And I usually, if it's a kid, little kids, I usually just give them a break on that and let it be less money. But $10 each for adults and $5 for students and Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. Oh, and Laurie Orzowitz wants Boy Scouts to come too. She was all for. She loved this idea and she loved this patch.
Great.
So that's the thing. I think we should give these proceeds to the foundation, donate it to the foundation. The guides are all foundation members. Usually they pay cash or a check. But if it's a check, it usually goes to City of Havre de Grace /HPC. The two I have are all cash. So I have the money. I haven't turned it into Jim yet because I wanted to find out about this.
Can we talk about it now? Can't we say yes or no? Is this a big decision?
I don't know. What's everybody think?
Let me talk to George, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
See if the city is okay with it. And then we'll just have to wait. We're doing another tour December 6th of 7th grade Girl Scouts. So then I'll have some more money. I'm just going to hold on to this $50 that I have.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll see if you don't see any problem with it with the city, then we could just start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well,
we
you
don't
know,
do
Kathy,
that.
at worst, I mean, if you do collect the money, at worst, you're building up your escrow account, you could buy more medallions. I mean.
Yeah.
You know. So let me,
All right.
yeah, let me talk to George and I want to talk to Patrick.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, can we wrap up? Anybody else?
I'm
have any?
done. I'm done. I'm sorry for taking up so much time, but I
That's
really
all right,
needed to talk to you about these things.
We appreciate all the work you do. Any other announcements or interests?
Okay, so Jean, you want to have a meeting next month? Because normally we never met in December, so that's the only reason I bring it up.
I was going to introduce that next time round. It's up to everybody. You know, we could have some homework. I could come up with some articles for you to read. But it's
Love
up
our homework.
Distance learning.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I like it. I like
Remote learning, I should say.
I mean, this year we're not all doing much for Christmas because
I
of the
know.
COVID.
Yeah.
So we should have a meeting to make up for the ones we didn't have earlier in the year.
Okay, we can do that.
That is my inclination. It can be a under an hour meeting. We could keep it brief. I like these meetings because sometimes we veer off the agenda and we share information that, you know, maybe a couple of us know and others don't. So I think there's benefit to that. What's the?
I'm for meeting in December personally.
Me too. Me
I
too.
am person.
Yeah, I
I think
just
it's
wanted
a
to
good
bring it
idea.
up.
I'll be at a meeting in
promise-
December.
Yeah, I promise there'll be no coal for anyone who doesn't want to meet in December, but
No coal.
I think it makes sense, even just to have a short meeting to exchange information. Okay, then we'll go with that on December 6th, and I'll get a Zoom meeting out to you. And I'm getting a wonderful something from Ellen, busy with
Looks
her
like Ellen
beautiful-
has made a sketch of
Oh,
Kathy.
Oh, no.
Thank you. Hey, you've
I
never
love
done one of me before.
Yeah.
Ellen,
Oh, I
Ellen
have.
is
Oh, you
Ellen,
have?
is that your first Zoom sketch?
Yeah, yes, my first.
All right.
That's great.
Thank you.
Okay, Jean, December 6th, not the 13th.
Good question. Is that
Yeah,
not
this
the
is,
second-
this is the first Tuesday, not the second Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. we
Ah,
want-
It's
correction.
the 8th.
December
It would be
13th.
December the 8th.
What?
December the 8th would be the second Tuesday.
Oh, okay, because it says the 6th on here, so I didn't check the day, I just looked
I
at the date.
made an error, and I'm glad you picked it up. So we're saying second Tuesday is the 8th. Thank you.
Yes.
It is.
Okay.
No,
Isn't December the 8th, isn't it December the 8th St. Nicholas Day?
no, the 6th is.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, I was wrong. December 6th
All right.
is a Sunday.
Tuesday,
December
okay.
8th. Yeah. I'll send around a few nags. All right. Anything
Okay.
else? Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Anne.
Thanks, everyone.
Hang it in there.
Well,
Good night. Oh, and by the way, I was
Good
just
night.
drinking ginger ale. Maybe for Christmas, I'll have some wine in here.
yeah.
Celebrate class. I
Carolyn gets the
celebrate every night
prize.
with ginger ale.
You get the prize for the most interesting glass.
Ass.
It was, I'll just tell you a quick story. It was a gift. And anyway, I put it away and I thought, I don't know why I do this stuff. Put it away for like a special occasion. I should just celebrate every day. So no one is allowed to drink out of this glass. No one's allowed to wash this glass except for me, because if it breaks, it's my fault, nobody else's. So, yeah, but I love it and I drink out of it every night.
Cheerful. It's very cheerful. Okay, our meeting is adjourned. Everyone
Thank
have a
you.
you.
Okay.